don't make sense what the suffering was for. Cause I got out my head and I got in my bag. No time to be crying, there's money to make. I'll do what I gotta, whatever it takes. Cause I'm pushing myself to be one of the great. And my time is right now, I cannot wait.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. I'm your host, Trey, and today we're going to be talking about the journey of the ego and what has to happen to it in order for you to see true success. And I want to talk about this because we are always so hyper-focused on the tangible things and the physical items or the locations we are going to be going to in order to be getting our successes, right? We're thinking about the BMWs, the Lamborghinis, or whatever car you're thinking about. You think about like the tangible things you want, you know what I mean? Like going to the gym and touching the weights you want to see, or like, you know, the new PRs or the new scales, or like you want to see the scale drop to a certain degree. Locations you want to travel, you want to go down south, you want to go over Europe, you know, all these aspirations you want, you know? But however, no one really talks about what you actually have to go through mentally with your ego in order to get to a state of mind to make those type of life achievements attainable. You just assume one day that you put in enough work and it's done. You're at the success you crave and it's over. And that is honestly one of the biggest things I've learned so far on my journey of creating the life that I fucking love, is that this is the furthest thing from the truth. And I want to break it down for you. And that's what this entire episode is about. Now, this is true and to a certain degree with the idea that if you want quote unquote better things in your life, you can work harder to get them and your life will benefit from this hard work that you're putting in. But eventually you will be capped out, you know, with that success. Like a prime example, if you're only chasing financial things and travel, let's say, right now you make $60,000 a year at your corporate job or wherever you're working, and then the next level of your car is X amount of dollars. So you get a $20,000 to $30,000 pay raise. Then all of a sudden your quality of life is next level, and next thing you know you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing. And then it's like, okay, now I want to buy a house and do this and do that. So you get another $20,000 pay raise at work, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, let's fucking go. But needless to say, you turn 45, 55, 65 years old, you're looking to retire, and you're capped. You know, and it's like, and I know that kind of contradicts a little bit of things I've said, but it's just about looking at the bigger picture of what do you truly want to do? Like, do you want to sacrifice your life to travel once a year? Do you want to sacrifice X amount of time for X amount of dollars that gives you X result that you think? You know, the success I'm referring to is changing your life entirely, mentally, physically, financially, and emotionally, everything. And I say this because we only have one life. And one day, which we don't know when it will come, but we will have that last day on this earth. And in those moments, you will be judged on if you live the utmost authentic and genuine life to yourself. And I know this might sound a little bit deep, but I want to talk about this because I want to talk about the real success of life, what it actually takes to truly change your life and what the ego will go through. So we're going to call this episode The Cleansing of the Ego. So grab a coffee, grab an energy drink, whatever you need, but make sure you have your notebooks or something to write with because it's going to be another banger, and let's jump right into it. Our first talking point revolves around embracing vulnerability. With your ego, you got to learn how to be vulnerable. One of the key stages in cleansing your ego is embracing your vulnerability. Often the ego seeks to protect us by putting up walls and avoiding situations that may expose or make us feel weak and trigger our insecurities. Many of us are conditioned to shield our vulnerabilities, fearing judgment and rejection from like ourselves or people around us, things like that. But true growth lies in acknowledging and embracing your vulnerability. By allowing yourself to be open and authentic with yourself and the people around you, you can create a space for personal development, deeper connections with yourself, better, deeper, honest, genuine, authentic relationships for the right people to support you. This is so important. And I feel like, you know, speaking to the males that are listening, that it's so easy for us males to be too prideful. You know, that pride is the opposite of vulnerability. You know, you have these expectations that you can't act or behave in a certain way. And true growth, a lot of it comes from being vulnerable. Well, how do you truly feel about X situation and so forth, right? Moving on to the next stage of ego cleansing is talking about overcoming obstacles. Another important aspect of our ego and cleansing it is the willingness to face and overcome obstacles. Our ego often resists challenges and adversities, right? Because that's when we become insecure, we self-doubt, things like this, because we start to perceive these challenges as threats to our self-image. You know, like, what if we fail? Everyone's going to see. What if this happens? Everyone's going to see. But it's through facing and overcoming these types of obstacles that we get to cultivate resiliency, strength, and a deeper understanding of ourselves. And like, as cheesy as it is, the Rocky quote, doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it just matters how many times you get back up. It's fucking true. Each challenge presents an opportunity for growth and a chance to shed the limitations imposed by our egos. I'm going to say that one more time because our egos make us feel very comfortable. Each challenge presents an opportunity for growth and a chance to shed the limitations imposed by our egos. And the reason why I want to say that is because who here, if you're listening and you've been to a fitness goal of any sort, do you remember the simple time of your life when you didn't do anything with fitness at all? And do you remember where you're at now? We're not talking about where you're at in your fitness journey currently, if you're happy or not. I don't care about that. I'm talking about, do you remember before you started? And what happens is you start your fitness journey, you start eating a little bit healthier, you start drinking a little bit more water, you start, seeing a little bit of results in terms of feeling a little bit better. You're not as bloated, you're not as thick in some areas, or feeling chunky or chubby in some other areas. Your t-shirts fit a little bit better, your clothes feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden we become comfortable. And then our egos tell us that we can relax more because we're not who we used to be. But that's not what the point of the podcast episode is in cleansing your ego. It's about who you want to become ultimately. And our ego impose tons of limitations on us because we're so prideful. We got all these different things, all kinds of different things. I'm not going to go on a crazy ass rant, but the biggest thing I want to finish off with this stage of cleansing the ego is, if you listen to any of my podcasts, you know what I say. Gaps equal opportunity, So if a challenge presents itself, it's an opportunity for growth. And there's nothing to do with ego besides, did you grow, did you learn, period. And that's all it is. And that's putting effort forward. Now, this one here, honestly, the third stage of ego cleansing was one of the ones that honestly, I think I battled with this one quite a bit. But it's the idea of letting go of attachment. Like our egos cling to various forms of attachments, whether it's material possessions, relationships, or specific outcomes. And what I'm saying, but what I mean by these are these attachments to these things create a false sense of identity and hinder our personal growth. And these attachments could be, your success in your ego is based off of the car that you drive. You know what I mean? The phone that you have, the clothes that you wear, the material possessions that you own. There's a lot of people in insecure relationships, right? That their ego is like, oh, I can't leave this person because of status or things like that. Or like even as simple as the people with like strong social media followings. And when you see them in person, they're not who they really seem to be because their ego is attached to things, right? So for us, like you got to ask yourself, what is your ego attached to? What avenues of your life is your ego attached to that you have to move? Like, prime example, I'm sitting here doing a podcast while I own a full online coaching business. If you were to ask me this 3 years ago, none of this was in here. My ego had me boxed up in a little corner in my mind to hold me in a position that I never wanted to be in. So I had to let go of a lot of attachments of material possessions. I used to think that just getting over $70,000 a year in a salary and getting a BMW was success. I used to think that as long as you don't cheat on your girlfriend, your relationship is success. All these different things. And it's like my ego, I had to let go of a lot of things. So by recognizing and releasing these attachments that you have, we can liberate ourselves from external validation and find true fulfillment from within. That's the importance of it, is these attachments is your validation of who you are. And it's like, if those attachments aren't true to who you are, you're not going to become fulfilled by them. So you got to learn how to let go of certain avenues of your life to open up new doors of new possibilities and allow us and yourself to evolve beyond the limitations of your ego, So that one there was honestly a personal one because I thought that one was when I first started just researching about ego and how I can change and how I can grow and get rid of pride, especially as men, right? We're so prideful. Me growing up the background that I did with no father figures, no one really tell me what to do, so I was always like insecure and on a back foot with that part of my life. So my ego is very sensitive to certain topics. So I had to learn about detachment, right? But it helped so much. So I just love the part where it's like the letting go of the attachment, to really let it resonate, is that the attachment that you have your ego attached to, that is the validation that you're getting, and that's when you really got to question, like, is it fulfilling you or not? But letting go will open up new opportunities that will fulfill you in the best ways possible. And I'm going to end on that one and get to the next one. Our next talking point focuses on cultivating self-compassion. This is a huge one because the ego thrives on self-judgment and comparison, creating a never-ending need for validation and perfection. However, by practicing self-compassion, we can embrace our flaws and mistakes as opportunities for growth instead of the sources of shame. Prime example, gaps are opportunities, because our ego thrives on comparison. Like, like that's what I'm saying. If you're attached to certain levels of success, whether in a material, relationship, or specific outcome, then that's what your level of success is going to be gone to. That's what your judgment is going to be gone to. And it's like, there's no way in hell, if it's not aligned with who you are, that it's going to give you any positivity. And you cannot practice self-compassion, which is another form of self-love, and just give yourself that respect that you deserve, and that nurturing of your own soul. You're not going to be able to give it to yourself by focusing on the wrong things. So self-compassion was a huge thing, and that's why even recently I had that podcast episode about being proud of yourself, right? That's literally self-compassion. And that was another big thing I've learned over this journey is like, you can work as much as you want, but if you're not cultivating self-compassion and that relationship with yourself to embrace your opportunity or embrace your flaws, and mistakes, and grow from them, instead of sit there and feel guilty for the decisions that you made and shame yourself for certain things that you've been through, like, it's just not worth it. So really understand that part of the ego helped me a ton, because it's like, like we're all just so hungry for success, so hungry for the next level. And it's like something as simple as just telling yourself that you're doing a good job, and that you're allowing yourself to, like, maybe we didn't do as good as we did on that project, but next time we can do it. Prime example, like, it's Canada Day weekend, and you guys are listening to this on July 3rd, and or whenever throughout the course of the week you guys are going to listen to a post Canada Day, or July 4th, wherever you're at in the world. And it's like, you're going to have those questions like, did I overdo it, overindulge, overdrink, overeat, or did I stay a course and true to my my passions, right? And like, did my ego take over, or did I take over? And lastly, let's discuss the importance of embracing humility. And this is a huge thing for me that actually kickstarted my journey, because with the ego, like, I didn't really know how egotistical I was from a over arrogant standpoint with like bodybuilding, like looking pretty good in certain areas of my life. But then I also didn't know how insecure I was in other avenues of my ego. And practicing humility is what actually cleanses the ego the most, in my opinion, because it requires us to recognize that we're neither superior nor inferior to anyone else, but we're all just unique individuals on our own personal journey that are sharing it with the people we love and the people that are around us. Embracing humility allows us to let go of the constant need for recognition, validation, and to just appreciate the contributions and perspectives of ourselves and others. And that's what's so important about that one, because you mix that with practicing gratitude, and you got yourself the utmost best time of your life. And it's funny because to be completely transparent, like, this whole journey, like, there's been not many times I've ever thought about giving it up, like, and I'll be honest, like, I work very hard for everything I have. Like, it's funny, I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, you're a podcaster. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you're a podcaster. And they're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you own a podcast, you release one every week. And I never even thought about it. I just do it because I enjoy it. I love it. I love the topics we talk about, and it honestly fuels me. I love it. I fucking love it. But even saying stuff like that, like, I didn't even realize, like, those avenues of my life, I didn't even realize, I'm sitting here owning a podcast for almost going on 2 years this November, and it's like, holy shit, like, damn, I never even noticed. So it's like, when I started practicing a lot of humility, a lot of gratitude, it was like, holy shit, like, oh no, like, I do a lot in regards, but it was allowing myself to embrace humility allowed me just to not look for the recognition from anyone else, the validation from anyone else. And embracing humility allowed me to recognize my own hard work a lot better. And when I started practicing gratitude on top of that, it really did change the name of the game in terms of, like, really truly finding what fulfilled me in my life, and it helped me be a lot more specific in how I became to practice self-compassion, the things that actually, like, make me feel good. And that's why I've come up also with the joke that I'm a very simple person. I don't need very much to make me happy. But I realize that those little few things that I do need that make me happy, I need a lot of them. And that's just pretty much it. But by doing so, in terms of embracing the humility, we get to create space for collaboration with other people and ourselves in terms of other avenues of our life that we're seeking to get into. We're allowed to create space for more learning, more personal growth. And we get to just free ourselves from the limitations and distortions, distorted perspectives we got that are imposed by the ego. Right? Thinking that we need validation or superiority over anyone or anything in life, right? But it's all a bunch of bogus, really. It's just our ego trying to protect ourselves from being hurt. We've all been hurt. We've all been down paths. But the biggest thing is, like, getting to that next level of success, not just like they call punching up. You know, you don't want just the next level. It's like, what do you fucking want in your life? And no one talks about like what you ultimately got to go through. I mean, and there's so many different things that you can go through in terms of what resonates with you. Like, you know, get mentors, or, you know, some people do drug retreats. Some people just like go work hard and read books. And then some people go and do podcasts, or some people just like whatever it is that resonates with you to get to that next level of life. I just want to leave before I wrap up the podcast about cleansing the ego is just like life can truly be as good as you want it to be. And the biggest thing about between where you're at right now in your life and where you want to be is your ego and your pride. Is what are you willing to endure to get to that next level without the validation or scarcity mindset of anything else around you besides your self-fulfillment? And that's the biggest thing, right? And that's why I love that cheesy quote with Rocky, but it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get back up. And it's like, you know, if you fail more than 10 times at something, is it you stopping because you truly are not learning from the processes? Or is it you stopping because you think, oh man, people are going to think I'm stupid for losing 10 times or anything like that? But I'm going to stop ranting. That's the end of today's episode for cleansing the ego. So I hope you found this insight valuable. I hope something maybe resonate with you a little bit to help you shift some perspectives and grow along your personal journey, whatever you may be doing out there, whether it's fitness, financial, mental, emotional, whatever it is. I hope the utmost best for you. And as always, remember to be kind to yourself and keep celebrating your successes on a daily basis. You got to be your own best friend and your own hype man. So let's do it. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, let's fucking go.
Who's on my side, I don't know anymore. Cause it's more than a battle, we going to war. And losing again, I just cannot afford. I think it's my time to go even the score. What you see on the surface attached to my core. I'm stacking my paper, but feeling for more. One hell of a ride, but I'm staying on board. And now it makes sense what the suffering was for. Cause I got out my head and I got in my bag. No time to be crying, there's money to make. I'll do what I gotta, whatever it takes. Cause I'm pushing myself to be one of the great. And my time is right now, I cannot wait. I'm receiving the love and rejecting the hate. I'm moving